So instantly what I thought my identity was stripped from me, so I started having to dig deep and find out who I really was.
Kiara McGinnis is a student and former athlete at Pacific University who halfway through her college career had to make the hard decision of not continuing to play the sport she loved. Although her life as an athlete has shaped her in so many ways, she now uses her time and energy to discover what her passions and goals in life truly are.
I started playing softball when I was either 4 or 5, and then I started playing year-round competitive starting at the age of 10, all the way up until I came and played at Pacific.
So you probably getting heavily recruited by a lot of places, and
I mean, a few.
yeah,
A few.
To be modest. How did you hear about Pacific, and how did you ultimately come to Pacific?
I heard about Pacific because it was one of the schools that I was looking at because my aunt graduated with her master's from here. And then I was contacted by one of the softball coaches, and Liz Yandel came out and watched me play in Southern California my sophomore year of high school. And then ever since then, I just came up to Pacific, did camps, went on recruiting trips, and then ultimately decided to come here. My sophomore year, I remember coming back and I felt kind of empty, like I didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of lost, and so I decided that I wanted to do something new, and I tried studying abroad. And after that point, I decided that I was looking for different things in my life, and that's when I decided in the middle of my junior year, after I came back from Australia.
Before going into the next season?
Is when I decided that softball wasn't for me anymore, but my first 2 years here were amazing, and I did love the experience.
Yeah. How hard was that decision to stop playing softball when you had played for your entire life?
It was the hardest decision I've made to date. It was a very emotional one. I just remember when the first week I was in Australia, people asked me who I was, and I'd say, oh, I'm Kiara, and I play college softball. Well, it's hard when you go to a country and they don't even know what that sport is. So instantly what I thought my identity was stripped from me. So I started having to dig deep and find out who I really was, which made me question a lot of things of all I knew was softball, and softball was what was making me happy. And there I found I loved traveling, I loved meeting people, I loved having new experiences, and that started making me excited about life and all the different opportunities that were out there for me. And a big factor was my parents. I didn't want to disappoint my parents because they had put in all the money and time growing up and taking me everywhere and all the sacrifices they made. So I remember coming back, still practicing, taking my dad out to the field every day, getting ready for season, and it wasn't until the day I drove up here with my dad for Jan term, so January of 2018. I remember on the drive, him and I just had a conversation, and he just looked at me, no conversation before, and just said, it's okay if you're done. Like, I support you. Softball was amazing to watch you play. You did it. You made it to a college, but ultimately it's up to you.
Talk a little bit more about how you were able to separate your identity from softball, and now what it looks like, what you put your motivations and all of your power into to date.
Yeah, so when I talk about my identity, softball, for 17 years of my life I was playing. So, of course, growing up, it was always, oh, I want to go be a college softball player, or like, I'm working towards this goal. And so once I made it, that was my identity. Like, I would go home, go to my home gym, and it's like, oh, you're the softball player. Like, that's how people knew me. My parents own a business. All their customers are like, oh, you're the softball one. So it was always something that I prided myself on, that I worked so hard and I achieved this goal. And then all of a sudden, like I said, first week in Australia, they don't even know what the sport is. So quickly I was like, what else is interesting about me? Like, what else will someone be interested about?
What advice would you give someone who's in your same shoes that came to a college for sports, like that's their whole identity, and maybe they have to leave for some reason? What would you tell them?
I would say do what your heart desires, because I thought that I could just push through, but really, ultimately, it's your happiness. Like, I was not happy anymore with the position I was in, not because of the program, not because of the coaches, not because of the team. It was just myself. I was burnt out after 17 years of doing this day in and day out. I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I would just tell them, do what will make you happy, because ultimately that's all that matters. Because at the end of the day, looking at it, I used to get anxiety. I didn't want to come back up here just because I was so done. Like, I wanted something new, and I would never want someone else to experience that. Like, you did it, you made it, and if the best thing for you is to step away and leave and go figure something else out that you love, do it, and just make sure that at the end of the day, you will never regret it. That is